So in this video, we're going to figure out what happens when we have the sine of x plus some number, or the cosine of x plus or minus some number. So these account for what are called phase shifts. So the C gives us a phase shift. And the way that we want to think about it is, if you think back to Math 126, when you played around with the number next to x by either adding something or subtracting something, it shifted the graph either to the left or to the right. So when it was a positive number, it shifted to the left, and when it was a negative number, it shifted to the right. So that's what we're going to look at here. Now, because of that and the way that these problems are, we actually think of it as y equals the sine of x minus c, and y equals the cosine of x minus c. So we're always going to turn it into a minus, and then our phase shift is going to be c over b. So for example, here, if I have y equals the cosine of x minus pi over 2, then this pi over 2, that is my c. So our phase shift is going to be pi over 2 over b, and in this case, b is just 1. So it just ends up being pi over 2. And so the way that I do these problems is I first draw that original cosine function. I just think it's the easier thing to do. So remember, this is 2 pi. This here is pi over 2 pi. 3 pi over 2. And if you notice, as we're going here, it's like 1 pi over 2, 2 pi over 2, 3 pi over 2, 4 pi over 2. We're going to need some more here to help us out. So 5 pi over 2, and we'll just do one more, 6 pi over 2. Okay, so every single point is going to move to the right, because it was this positive pi over 2. Every single point is going to move to the right pi over 2. So originally I had this point here, and it is going to now move to the right pi over 2 and become this point. Let me darken all these original points here. So these were all my original points. So this point here is going to move to the right by pi over 2. And the reason why I'm just kind of sliding one slot is because if you notice the distance here between 0 to this first point, this is pi over 2. So sliding pi over 2 in this graph represents sliding one slot. So that moves over pi over 2. This is going to move over pi over 2. This point's going to move over pi over 2. This point's going to move over pi over 2. So all of these points moved over pi over 2, and so I get this new blue graph. Now, when you go to put this on Alex, the only thing that you need to put into Alex is the blue graph. You can't put both of the two graphs into Alex. So let's try another one here. Let's look at y equals the sine of x plus 2 pi over 3. So in this problem, we don't have a subtraction sign in the middle here, but to be able to calculate that phase shift, we need that subtraction sign. So I'm just going to rewrite this. So the important thing to remember is you could actually rewrite an addition sign as 2 negatives, so it's x minus 2 pi over 3. And so in that case, this becomes the, so in that case, our c is the minus 2 pi over 3. So the phase shift here is going to be minus 2 pi over 3 over 1, so minus 2 pi over 3. Okay, so if we look at just the basic sine graph, it looks like this. This is 2 pi. This is, this here is pi over 2. This is 3 pi over 2. Okay, so we need to, from each of these, since we're shifting, we're subtracting 2 pi over 3. So for each of these points here, we have to subtract 2 pi over 3. So the first thing we're going to do is we need some more spots on our axes here. So 2 pi over 3 is... So we're going to take each of these points and subtract 2 pi over 3. So if I take 0 minus 2 pi over 3, that's just going to give me minus 2 pi over 3. So this first point here is moving backwards to minus 2 pi over 3. The second point, we have pi over 2 minus 2 pi over 3. So we're going to have to do these, we're going to have to do a common denominator. So we would have we'd have 3 pi over 6 minus 4 pi over 6. So it's going to be minus pi over 6. So that's probably somewhere around here. So minus pi over 6. So the second point is coming back here. Then we're going to have pi minus pi over 6. Or, I'm sorry, pi minus 2 pi over 3. So that's going to be 3 pi over 3 minus 2 pi over 3, or pi over 3. And pi over 3 is a little bit bigger than, or pi over 3 is a little bit smaller than pi over 2, so it's probably like there. So pi over 3. So this point here is going to move backwards to there. And you can see we're beginning to build our curve, right? Then we need to do 3 pi over 2 minus 2 pi over 3. So again, we're going to need a common denominator of 6. So 3 times 3 is 9, so 9 pi over 6 minus 4 pi over 6 is going to be 5 pi over 6. And so 5 pi over 6, again, is a little bit before pi. So this point down here is going to move back to here. So I'm continuing to make my graph. And then this last point, 2 pi. So 2 pi minus 2 pi over 3 is going to be 6 pi over 3 minus 2 pi over 3, which is 4 pi over 3. So 4 pi over 3 is going to be a little bit before this, so probably right about there. So this point's going to move back there, and so it comes up like that. So again, Alex is just going to want you to put in these 5 dots. So as long as you get those 5 dots in the correct place, then everything else will fall into place.